Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through Thursday's small two-game slate. We'll get the debut of the Philadelphia 76ers and Damian Lillard and Milwaukee Bucks uniform, followed by Phoenix and the Lakers. A fun opening big slate of NBA action last night. Mike did a podcast recapping all of the action on our podcast feed, the Established Run NBA podcast. So make sure to check that out. Mike, how are you doing today in the hangover of the 12-game slate?
Yeah, a little tired. Need to go to they had those like IV places where you can get rehydrated and all that. Feeling a little bit like that with all the shots of we saw a lot of shots yesterday and took them, but yeah, feeling good. Feel really good about the results we had yesterday. Feel like it was great to see that work pay off. So waking up today, actually getting a shower in today. Happy to say, I don't smell as bad as Brody does, but yeah. A little tired, but ready to grind it out for another big slate tomorrow and today. Small one, but it's ready to go.
Yeah. Big slate tomorrow. A lot of action. It's interesting, the NBA calendar this year. I think, especially during NFL season, you're going to see a lot more of these like really small slates than really huge slates. Really small slates and really huge slates. There's actually a number of days off entirely this NBA season. November 7th, they're taking off for voting once again. One of the things that the players asked for in the collective bargaining, and then there's days off around the tournament, the in-season tournament. So we'll have some days off in December as well, which is really nice for me. I don't know if you've looked ahead on the calendar enough. I know calendars are not your favorite thing, but it's nice. It's nice for me to know, like, oh, Tuesday, November 7th, there's a day off. So it's like, okay, I can work 2 weeks straight, and then like I get a day off, and then like I can then it's another 3 weeks until the December day. And I don't know, I kind of like that. Awesome. Let's get into these 2-game slates. Let's start with Philadelphia and Milwaukee. The big news surrounding Philadelphia obviously is James Harden, which is not with the team, listed under return to competition reconditioning. If you saw, Chris Haynes put out a piece earlier today talking about how Harden basically showed up ready to go and travel with the team, and they were like, no, we'd prefer you not travel with the team. So the Harden saga continues on. We'll be interested to see if and when he returns. The idea is he's out at least the first 2 games, and then who knows, we'll see. In addition, they've got their G League, their 2-way guys out, Javonte Smart, Tre'Quavion Smith, and Ricky Council. So in the absence of James Harden, how do things look for the Philadelphia 76ers tonight?
So pretty confident we're going to get a starting lineup of Tyrese Maxey, D'Anthony Melton, Tobias Harris, PJ Tucker, and Joel Embiid. There's commentary of being 6 starters for the 76ers, or even just Sixers, I guess would be more appropriate. But definitely a Tucker game, right? This is what teams want to have him on their team for, is to guard Giannis. So feel pretty good that Tucker's going to get the start. We'll see what his minutes look like. They were pretty short. But again, if you're going to have PJ Tucker, as old as he is, pushing 40, like us, but I think they're going to start him and play in pretty good minutes. We know that they're going to play a ton of Maxey. Melton's minutes have gone up really strong preseason, had a huge game as well. And we saw Joel Embiid was supposed to play in the second to last preseason game, actually became kind of ill a little bit late, and they kind of late-ish scratched him, the day before. But went out there in the last game and played 17 first half minutes. I think he got up to 32, 33. So they were running him pretty full. He looks good to go. And then we saw actually a little bit of Paul Reed 4 minutes. Will they do that? The Bucks are huge. That's something I want to watch. We're projecting a little bit of overlap there. But yeah, Kelly Oubre is going to play a really good bit. We saw him sub in early and often, and he was kind of getting, first-ish unit stuff from them. So, pretty strong rotation from him. Jaden Springer had a really good preseason. Can he beat out Danny Green? That's something we're kind of watching. And then we know Patrick Beverley will get in there and, probably have probably a little bit earlier. He's probably going to have to guard some Dame stuff, but we know Melton's going to get that assignment as well. So, yeah, I feel pretty good about this rotation. Just kind of who's like the last man in is the only thing we're thinking about, if it's, Springer or Daniel House or somebody like that.
Yeah, interesting thing to think about is if it's not only James Harden absence, but if it's a game environment that sets up for more PJ Tucker, who is one of the lowest usage players in the league, that is a lot of usage left on the table for Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, all to potentially pick up tonight. So will be really interesting to see how things break there. Let's move to the Milwaukee side of things, where their injury report is clean, which is a little surprising just given all the ramp-up stuff around Chris Middleton and given Bucks injury reporting generally. But I guess when they post guys as probable, and it usually means they're doubtful, maybe a no tag is really a probable for them. So what are your thoughts on the Bucks heading into the season? And obviously a lot of question marks here with the roster turnover, right? Not only with Damian Lillard in place of Drew Holiday, but they ship off Grayson Allen, they bring in Malik Beasley. We'll see if Jay Crowder, a midseason acquisition last year, who didn't really play a lot, has a bigger role this year. What are your expectations for Milwaukee tonight?
So they're going to almost certainly start Damian Lillard, Malik Beasley, Chris Middleton, which we'll talk about in a second, Giannis, and Brooke. Let's go to Middleton. So there was a comment from Griffin saying they didn't want to go from 12 minutes in the preseason game he played to 35 minutes. Obviously, he's not playing 35 minutes. And I just want to pull this up from last year on Chris Middleton. So this is kind of when he returned from an injury here on the 20. Look at this freaking ramp up. 15, 15, 15, 18, 20, 20, 20, 22, 25. Look how long this is taking to get to 31 minutes, Coming off off-season surgery, a little bit different here. I would be honestly kind of shocked if he hits 30. I think, realistically on the high end, it would be 28. I would not be surprised if it's like this, where he's hanging around 20 for a little bit, then goes to around 25 a little bit. He's older. He's had a lot of miles on the tires. And again, this has got to be one of the longest ramp-ups I've ever seen in my entire life. So we'll see. I don't think it may not be this long, but, they obviously don't have Budenholzer anymore, but he's not the guy pulling the strings on these decisions. They've got a medical staff for this. So I would expect him to have a really, really long ramp-up, which should up Jay Crowder. Are they going to bring in Marjan Beauchamp, who was quite clearly behind Crowder for the small forward 3 job? They played pretty big. They were playing Bobby Portis as a 4, almost not exclusively, but a lot, to get Robin Lopez consistently in the rotation. Every time he was in there for when they wanted to play him, he subbed in behind his brother. It's against Embiid. Probably want the size. We know that. So I feel pretty good that those guys are going to be the front court, and then we see Campaign coming off a small injury should probably be in there. And then Pat Connaughton, we know that so we've got the 10. Do they go 11 because they got to compensate for Middleton? That's kind of the question. And then Giannis looks pretty good. We saw his minutes pretty strong. Hurt his hand last season that bothered him. There was some commentary from that around March, a little bit of April, and also had the offseason knee surgery while he missed FIBA. But looks good to go. Really nothing to worry about there. Minutes look fine in the preseason, but definitely watching how Chris Middleton is handled. We'll talk about that more on DFS for sure.
Yeah, I would think that kind of just offhand my feel, and I work on more of the rate stuff, and we have a team that works on more of the minute stuff, and I chime in kind of after I do all the rates and the player baselines and stuff. But my instincts on the minutes for Middleton tonight, are you confident he's starting, for sure starting?
Pretty confident, yeah. It seems that they're going to start him, and I'm honestly, 85% confident.
Because when they ramped up, when he ramped up before,
bench.
It was off the bench. So I think if you see him off the bench, immediately, you got to think the range is now 12 to 22 or something like that. If you see him off the bench,
I was going to say 15 to 22. Yeah.
If he's in the starting lineup, I think the range is 18 to 28. I don't think there's any shot at 30.
So you think we should come? I didn't want to be too freak out. We had him kind of mid-ish upper 20s. I said go down.
Yeah,
to 25.
I would go.
I think you want to go lower.
Yeah,
we'll go down. 23 and a half probably.
We'll adjust that, but the only hesitation is simply they don't have a lot of depth, period, on this team. So, but at the end of the day, we're seeing, we'll get to Phoenix in a second here, but we're seeing these teams that are the really, really top teams, despite, NBA mandates and whatnot. They're probably thinking more of how are we going to look in April, May, June, as opposed to how we look in October, November. So, all right. And in terms of from a DFS perspective, a 2-game slate. So these guys are going to be relevant, but in terms of who could actually pick up slack from the DFS perspective, we'll talk about more on the DFS show. But it'll be very interesting to see Malik Beasley's role this year with this team, because he is one of these guys who is a willing and able shooter. And a lot of times when you have Giannis, you create a lot of space around you, but they've had guys who are not as willing. They're like able shooters, but they're not guys who are like really ready to launch. And sometimes they need wide open looks, like Pat Connaughton, Grayson Allen. These guys kind of need like wide open looks and take their time to fire. Malik will just let it go. So I'm really interested to see how aggressive he is in this offense this year. And if Middleton is unable to play full minutes, that would open up more of an opportunity for him to do so.
For sure.
Okay, let's move to the Phoenix and the Lakers side. On the Phoenix side, man, this is a very disappointing start to the season for Phoenix from a health perspective. We went into game one and Bradley Beal was ruled doubtful kind of from the start. Booker was considered a game time decision. And almost immediately after they win the road game in Golden State, we get a double doubtful tag on Beal and Booker really quickly after. And Booker played 37 minutes and played great, looked great. So pretty disappointing. What is your read on what's going on with these two guys? With Booker, it's left foot soreness, and with Beal, it's lower back tightness, back spasms is what is being reported. Those sound like kind of chronic nagging things, which is just really disappointing to start the season with. What's your read here on Booker and Beal? And are we going to have any hokey pokey on the injury tag reports? Because we saw on Tuesday where Woj kind of came out and said, oh, Beal's feeling a little bit better. Maybe he'll play. But then they ruled him out, a few hours later.
Yeah, certainly in hindsight, it looks like it's gamesmanship, right? With the commentary from Beal was also reported from the Arizona Republic. He was feeling better, so I think that was like, okay, this is out, maybe push back, and that's a little bit of a take, I guess. But anyways, yeah. So I was listening to Booker right on the broadcast, and he like kind of hinted he was playing through stuff. Like, oh boy, like I know we're getting at least a Q tag, and then getting the D tag off the bat for a national TV game, I think it's almost like saying like, okay, like, we're really hurting here. But
yeah.
Anyways, I feel pretty confidently that they're gonna start Eric Gordon, Grayson Allen, Okogie, who played freaking awesome. Talk about him in a second. Yeah. And then Kevin Durant, and then the backups. They're just so light ball handling. Devin Booker led the team in ball handling, and then it was Eric Gordon number 2, and then like a massive gap to like Jordan Goodwin and Kevin Durant. I think they were tied for second, and then Grayson Allen behind him. They are really short ball handling, so I think they're gonna, run more or less these same guys in there. They're probably gonna up Nazir Little a little bit, and then I think they're gonna probably bring in Saben Lee. They just need handling really bad. Jordan Goodwin's not like your classic kind of run offense kind of a guy. You don't really need that as much, but if you're gonna run kind of screen roll stuff, I think I'd rather run it with Saban than I would with Jordan Goodwin. So I kind of talked up Jordan Goodwin a little bit too much in the last slate, but he still actually, was kind of there for a low-owned guy.
Yeah, he was there.
But yeah, anyways. So, I think Saban Lee is going to be a kind of guy that enters, and we'll see if maybe they shift things smaller. Maybe they run Unit as more of a 4, there's more of a 3, which has been subbing in as. But tough scene, man. You're to start to be, a contending team. And we're talking about Jordan Goodwin, who couldn't get minutes all the time with the Wizards, Saben Lee, two-way guy, all this. For a team that most people, I think, most people had him top 2, like lock as a team. It's quite odd. And Kevin Durant will be extremely busy today for sure.
Yeah, it'll lead to really hefty usage for Kevin Durant. Would expect hefty usage for Eric Gordon as well. You saw he got 16 shots off last game, was kind of the third guy from a usage perspective, which was kind of filling that Bradley Beal role, which I think is like a kind of a good sign for Bradley Beal as well. Like, look at how many shots were there for Eric Gordon. They're probably going to be that many shots there for Bradley Beal when he's available. The other note that I have here is like, look at that Nurkic line, man. That is exactly what they need, right? They need the guy who's going to shoot 5 for 8. 6 for 9, 6 for 10, something like that. Not need to take a ton of shots, take all the easy ones, rebound the heck out of the basketball, and go and play defense and try to protect the rim, right? So I was really encouraged by Nurk, who looks slimmer, looks healthier.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a big Nurk season. He'll have his hands full tonight, obviously, with Anthony Davis, but I thought that was encouraging. And then the other thing I note, Eric Gordon, we took it over on him, barely got there at the very end. If he shoots better, it shouldn't have been a sweat. But I will note, he looked his age. Getting blocked by Dario Saric at the rim, I think once or twice, is not a great look for Eric Gordon. So he's going to have a big role tonight, but the efficiency might be challenging. And they're asking a lot more than they ever intended to out of some of these guys if they're really, going to be down Booker and Beal. Hopefully it's not too long. Okay.
Yeah, smoked a couple layups. I do want to hit Josh Okogie real quick. I mean,
Yep.
guarded Steph, and their rebounding was really big, man. I mean, those 4 offensive
Yep.
rebounds were really impactful. Vogel had some quotes on him. I just want to kind of bring up that he said he was, chased everyone around and impacted the game offensively, not just with the rebounding. Like, he was actually involved in some actions and getting some touches. Just a really, really good game from Okogie. And again, just kind of ran away with the job in the preseason and like created a massive gap, I would say, from really these other guys. KBD's done. We thought he would have a chance to get in there. But just want to shout out Josh Okogie for a really, really strong play. And,
he was great, and we thought I thought specifically just because of the assets they invested at that position outside of Okogie, right? Like bringing in Nasir Little in the trade, bringing in Keita Bates-Diop, looking at like Yuta Watanabe and Bol, just kind of these like wing 3-4s, just getting so much depth that signaled to me that they didn't have a lot of confidence in him, like really running away with that role. Obviously he did in the preseason. I think there will be times where it still floats back because Okogie is a pretty inconsistent player generally, but a really good sign. And clearly like the Nasir Little was just like, they're just trying stuff in the second half for 3 minutes. Mm-hmm. So really good signs for Okogie in game 1. All right, let's move to the Lakers. Their injury report, Jared Vanderbilt still listed out with the left heel bursitis. Jalen Hood-Schifino out, not expected to be in the rotation anyway. Cam Reddish popped up on the injury report. Not uncommon for Cam Reddish to pop up on an injury report. But right foot soreness for Cam Reddish. He played a bigger role than we anticipated in the opening game, got 18 minutes out there. We saw Rui Hachimura was really, really limited coming off of a matchup that he was used heavily in the postseason. So surprising there. Taurean Prince played great, sort of in the same mold of Josh Okogie to me, where it's like Taurean Prince has played really well in the preseason, played great, earned this role. Taurean Prince has also a long history of not being the most consistent player in the world. So I'm sure during different points of the season, this will switch back and rotate back. But for right now, he looks to have a very strong hold on that role. And if he's shooting 40+% from 3, he's going to play a lot. He's going to get a lot of good looks from 3 with LeBron and AD. The big news coming out of the opener for them was only 29 minutes for LeBron. And this sounds like it's going to be a continued thing going forward. And I'm wondering how long this is going to be a thing, because you start to think about it and like their goals, his age, like maybe it's going to be all year that he's like 31, 32 minutes per game, because they put on so much on him in the playoffs. And I mean, that game 4 against Denver, when he had like 30 in the first half and he's just killing everybody. I know the quotes like Bruce Brown was like, he ran out of gas. It's reasonable for a dude to run out of gas with what he was doing at his age. Like that, I don't even think that's a knock. I think that's just like, that's a reasonable thing to happen. So I'm really interested. What are your thoughts on LeBron minutes, both short-term and long-term?
Yeah, kind of shout out to us. Yeah, we talked about this in the DFS show. You mentioned unchecking LeBron, which was a really, really sharp move if you did that. But there was a quote saying they're going to kind of keep him around 28, 30. And it was, the actions speak louder than the words. His rotations were significantly shorter than we saw. And shout out to me, I noticed this in the preseason, that they were running him about a minute and a half shorter than what they were doing the last 2 years in the preseason. So this wasn't just talk. And this is a whole team effort. They're saying that the whole training staff is involved with how they're going to sub him in, sub him out. So, yeah, I think that the days of seeing those, 38s and 37s, 36s consistently over, game here and there might be out the window, especially in a game that, they wanted to get. There's, the Mike Malone's their daddy, all that. So, yeah, I think this is kind of the new normal for LeBron, which is wild to see. I think that mostly covers that, but
if I set the line on LeBron end of season minutes per game, when we look at the end of this season and we look at LeBron's minutes per game for the season, if I set the line at 31.8, would you take under or over?
Pretty good line. I hate to be a prisoner of the moment, but I think I take the under.
Yeah, I think so. To give perspective, our seasonal projections had him at like 34 or something like that. So like we're what I'm saying is I'm making an adjustment to my baseline expectations for LeBron for this season based on the way that they're handling him. When remember, he's not like coming off of an injury. This is just like a maintenance plan. So interesting to note. I think we're going to have to wait for his price to come down a little bit in DFS. The other thing we should note, just, it's not super injury related, but just generally the Nuggets are a bigger team. We thought the Lakers would play bigger on the whole. They were very comfortable playing smaller, right? You saw Cam Reddish and Gabe Vincent be the two leaders in minutes off the bench instead of Rui Hachimura or Christian Wood. They're going to play a smaller opponent tonight in Phoenix. It seems like this is the way that they prefer to play. And there was a lot of confidence exuded in D'Angelo Russell in that game, who played 36 minutes against the Nuggets team that kind of pushed him off the floor, was a +1 in his 36 minutes. He did not shoot the ball well, but I thought he played well. I thought he competed well. Yeah. Do you expect the Lakers to continue to play on the smaller end of things?
I do. Yeah. I thought that they, again, played pretty big. We've been talking about this Christian Wood power forward thing, which was the case again. He got some center stuff next to LeBron, but yeah, I think they're going to play pretty small. We'll see if Gabe Vincent's minutes come up. Had that back injury, said he could have played in the last preseason game there. But yeah, I mean, Prince was, we talked about them playing smaller. Prince was the point of attack defender on Jamal Murray. So he's going to pick up that KD matchup, I would say, for sure. So, and really, the Jokic talks all the thing. He's not really a great, he's more of like, I'm in your way. He's not really a guy that can get a hand up and defend, which is the hardest thing to do against Kevin Durant. Nobody can. But I think Prince's minutes are actually pretty secure here. And then we'll see what happens with Gabe if he ramps up a little bit. But yeah, really strong from D'Angelo. And, like you said, he missed shots, but I thought he was really engaged. He was kind of screening. He was, being more of a pass first point guard, which isn't his MO. It kind of dovetailed what happened in the preseason as well. He looked, again, just like a more well-rounded player rather than, I'm going to shoot it, ice in my veins, D'Angelo stuff. So, a pretty good encouraging sign there.
All right. Well, that'll do it. We'll get into more of the analysis from the DFS perspective on the 2-game slate behind the paywall today at 5:00 Eastern with myself and Mike Gallagher on another edition of Establish the Show. As always, if you're enjoying the content that we're putting out, we'd love for you to help us continue to make this content by helping feed the algorithm. So you need to smash or press or hold firmly or caress gently that like button, however you'd like to make sure that it is pushed down. Help feed the algorithm. It helps feed our families and allows us to feed you this free information Monday through Fridays at 2:00 Eastern here. Mike has pulled up the subscribe page. This is the reason we do this free show, is to try to encourage people to come join us behind the paywall, where we've got all the goodies. Mike Gallagher's matchups column 3 times a week, projections each and every day, top plays 6 days a week, live shows 5 days a week, breaking down the slate. Look, we're obviously biased. I think the live shows provide a lot of great context to ideas on the slates. Last night, I talked about how Max Strus was a really, really great pivot from Evan Mobley, from Evan Mobley's higher ownership. Talked about how just in general, like flag planted Mark Williams last night. The chalk was fragile last night, and it was a good night to play GPPs last night. We'll talk through more of those thoughts. We'll take your questions on strategy because 2-game slates, we have more time to talk through that stuff. So we interact with the chat. We try to make this, a service that provides resources to everybody to improve their game because you can't just jam projections and hope to win. As good as our projections are, you got to be able to think through things and understand kind of the league. And we do our best to try to teach you all of that stuff along with the DFS side of things. So you can join us there. We went 11-1 in player props last night, 13-3 on the season. So quick start to the season. If you're interested in joining us on the prop side, please read the FAQ that is linked there. It's in green. Read this FAQ, please, because we don't want anyone to have unrealistic expectations. There are challenges at getting the lines and they move fast, but we have the prop service. We're very proud of the work that we put in there. So that'll do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. We'll be back tomorrow on Friday with another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. Enjoy the games tonight. We'll see you then. Take care, everybody.